What up, YouTube? It's your boy Marvel of Matter back with another video, and today what I'm going to talk about is why you are awkward and how to change it, man. Why you're awkward and how to change it. This is for guys, girls, everybody. Why you're awkward. Awkwardness is something that everybody deals with to an extent. Some people deal with it a lot more than others, right? And it really comes from you being closed off. You trying to control too much of your interaction, right? People who are sociable, people who are outgoing are not like that. They're not trying to control every aspect of the interaction. They allow it to free flow, and they allow themselves to be vulnerable so that, you know, it's possible that they may look silly in a situation, or it's possible that, you know, something could go wrong. Something could be like taken the wrong way. They could offend somebody, right? But people who are generally good with people are not afraid of these things happening. And that's part of what makes them good with people, right? Because when you're closed off, right, when you're guarded, you avoid those things, right? You protect your ego, you protect yourself, you know, maybe physically, mentally, right? You don't offend somebody that makes them, you know, and it makes them want to get physical, and you get into fights and whatever it is. People avoid different things, but that's mainly what being awkward is. It's like you're so closed off because you have a habit of, when you're interacting, right? Maybe you developed it a little while ago, maybe it's something new, but like you have a habit of trying to protect yourself when you're interacting with people, and you're not allowing yourself to be vulnerable. So you lose a freedom, right? So you have your guard up, and what that does is that makes other people uncomfortable around you as well, because when your guard is down and you're vulnerable and you're just around somebody and you're just being yourself, people can feel that, and it makes them feel okay to be around you, right? And they can tell you're not faking, you're not hiding, you're not, you know, holding back. They can tell this is just what you are, this is just who you are. It naturally puts people at ease. And so even somebody that is awkward, when they're talking to somebody who's very good with people, they lose that awkwardness as well, and they feel better, right? I've been awkward at times. I've been guarded. I've been closed off. I've gone through ups and downs with that. And so I know what it feels like when I know I'm guarded and I'm closed off, and I'm not trying to look stupid, or I'm not trying to, you know, open up and let somebody, you know what I'm saying? I'm like just kind of like keeping to myself. I can tell the difference, and I can tell how that comes off, and I can tell how people react to me. And then I can tell when I am, you know, free flowing, just, you know, vulnerable, open. I can see the difference of how people interact with me. I can see the difference of how they respond. Right? But I may look silly at some points in those times, but I can just laugh it off, right? You can always just laugh it off. Don't let you trying to protect yourself hold you off from, you know, opportunities, because that's a big thing that comes with being sociable, right? You may be vulnerable to attack, right? You might even offend somebody, and then they get mad, and then you have an argument, right? That happens. A lot of times people that are awkward don't really argue with people. They don't really have altercations. They don't really have conflict, because they're doing everything they can to dance around that conflict. That's another big part of it. They're dancing around the conflict. They're not trying to, you know, ruffle any feathers. So they're thinking about what they're going to say. They're not really just allowing what they feel, what they think to come out, because they're so worried about the other person and how they're going to be perceived, right? They're trying to control that perception. But when you're not trying to control the perception, and you're free and you're vulnerable, you may have these situations where you argue with somebody because you might say some shit that they don't like, right? And some people are going to say something when you say some shit that they don't like. And then you just deal with it, right? So that's the downside. There's no absolute win, but there's a trade-off, right? That's the trade-off. You might have certain interactions that are you know, based in conflict, because you're not always going out of your way to you know, appease other people. You're just saying what you're saying, right? So if you're a good person, you're a person that has, you know, manners, you're a person that's polite, then that's not going to be a problem for you. If you're naturally just a polite person, you're not going to, you know, have these issues. If you come from a little rougher background, okay, you might have some more conflicts than other people. But the thing is, like, that freedom to just be yourself is very important in not being awkward. And that's really what it comes down to. And what I was saying earlier about the opportunities is, like, when you are sociable, when you are personable, people think about you when they want to work with somebody, when they have something of value and they want to share it with somebody, right? You're the person they're going to think of, because, you know, people like to feel good, and when they're around somebody who is themselves and is happy, they feel good. They feel good. You can tell the difference, right? When you meet somebody and they're just a happy person, they're just, they're doing their thing, and they might be funny, right? Usually they are. People that are themselves, that are just free, are usually funny as well. They have a lot of good qualities that come with them. Yeah, it might be a bit much too sometimes, right? Sometimes they might be a bit much, and you're like, okay, they don't know when to pull it back, right? But that's what comes with it. You can't have both. You can have some nuance, you can have some finesse, but it's like either you're going to be you or you're not, right? So either you're going to be smooth and personable and sociable and, move through the world the way you want to move through the world, and it'd be cool. You might see other people that are awkward, but you just ignore that and you continue to be you, and it'll warm them up. It'll bring their guard down, like I said before. Or you can be on the other side where you're guarded, you protect yourself, you don't really have any interactions that are too bad, you don't really have any conflicts, you don't really ever look stupid, but you don't really get much out of life like that. You just avoid bad things, right? The being open, the being like vulnerable comes with a reward. It comes with a risk, but it comes with a reward. When you're closed off and you're protecting yourself, it really doesn't come with any reward. It just lowers the risk. But it also makes you awkward. And that's not good, right? So, like I said, that's what's bringing the reward down to very low, very low. Much lower than it would be if you're just open and sociable and, you take a hit every once in a while. But your reward, like I said, is going to be much greater. So, how do you get over this? How do you get over this feeling of wanting to protect yourself? And you just gotta, in baby steps, right? You're probably not gonna just do it one day, like wake up and be like, okay, I'm good, right? But in moments, like take risks. Everybody has jokes that they want to say, right? Everybody in a moment will have a joke that they're like, oh, this would be funny if I said it. But you might not say it because you're like, I don't want to offend this person, or I don't want to this, I don't want to that, right? In certain moments, say the joke and see what happens. And if nobody laughs, right? But you are doing it for the you're building the muscle of vulnerability. You're building the ability to be more open, right? And with that openness over time, once you get more comfortable in it, it will turn into you being personable. You might even be quirky, but sometimes quirky people are personable. You know what I'm saying? You might have things about you that's like, oh, that's very unique to you. Nobody else is like that, but that's okay. As long as it's genuine, as long as it's authentic, as long as you're being yourself with it, it will be received better than you holding and staying tight to yourself and keeping everything close to your chest and you just being guarded, right? That nobody really can connect with you in that way when you are that way. And so you won't have an abundant life. You can't have an abundant life being closed off. There has to be some vulnerability because there has to be some risk in order to get reward. I had a conversation about that. I forget with who the other day, but we were talking about that. Me and one of my friends, and it's just like, you have to have risk. And the higher the risk, the higher the reward. It really works like that. That's how the universe is set up. You can't get a lot without putting something up, without putting a lot up. It's just how nature works. So if you want more out of life, you don't want to be awkward, you want to have good conversations, you want to have good interactions, you want to have connections, you want to have a network of people that, you know what I'm saying, you mess with. It don't have to be 1,000 people, but even a lot of people who will talk about like, my circle's small. It's small to them, but if you were to watch them interact with people, like let's say an Andrew Tate, right? I'll use Andrew Tate. He will tell you he only has a small circle. It's him and a few people that he knows, but I know he's personable. I saw the video he did with Mike Thurston, and when you see him when he's not in that mode where he's I'm alpha, he's a nice guy, right? He's a personable guy. He knows how to have conversation. He's open. He's himself. People that are like that do well. You cannot be. It's hard to be successful when you're not yourself. It's hard to be successful when you're not open, when you're not receptive to things that are in the world, right? When you're not receptive to things that are in the world, when you don't take chances, when you don't take risks, it's very hard to be successful. I've seen that personally. Like I said, lots of times in my life, I've been guarded and nothing is happening, right? Everything seems closed off. It seems very hard to get opportunities. It seems very hard to, meet women. It seems very hard to do a lot of things in those times. And then when my mindset changes and I open up and I'm more vulnerable and I'm more, my guard is down, I'm like, let me just go out and try. Let me just, let me not be scared, right? Let me just not be scared. Things go a lot better. Put the ego aside. I'm not worried about how I look. Things go a lot better. Like with this YouTube thing, for the first 2 months, a month and a half, 2 months, I was putting videos out every day and getting 20 views. I'm sorry, not likes, 20 views. And it just felt like I was just throwing videos into the ether, right? It felt like nobody was watching it. There wasn't really no sign that it was going to change. There was no sign that it was going to get better. But then lo and behold, one day I got a video that got 100 views. And I was like, oh, where'd this come from? Right? Then that 100 turned into 200, 300, but I just kept going. But if I had been worried about, actually in the beginning, I was worried. I really started the page in July, but I didn't start posting till August. I posted 4 videos in August, and in September I really got started. But in July, what kept me from posting videos is I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to post a video and get no views. That's embarrassing, right? Mind you, how is somebody going to see that you have no views if nobody watches the video? Don't make sense, but that was my thought process. I was a little my ego, right? I didn't want to look stupid. But then September rolled around. I'm like, I want to change my life. I want to have a YouTube channel. I want to have a successful YouTube channel. So I'm just going to make videos. It doesn't matter if it looks stupid. It doesn't matter. I know I'm putting out good content. I know I'm saying things that matter. I know I'm saying things that can help people. So that's what it's for. I'm going to just do it. And we'll see. Whoever gets to see it gets to see it and they get to benefit from it. And that's kind of how I was thinking about it. So it's I put my ego aside and I'm like, okay, what is happening? What am I actually doing? Am I providing value or not? Yeah, I'm doing it then because I think it's valuable. So in moments in life and things that you're doing, it's okay, do I think this joke is going to be funny? I do. So I think it's providing value. So I'm going to say it. Right? Now, obviously, you context clues. You read context clues some. You don't want to be one of those people that's just, tone deaf to the moment, tone deaf to the situation. But you also don't want to be hypersensitive to everybody's movements, everybody's facial expressions, everybody's everything, right? You don't want to be paying so much attention that you're not really being yourself. You're just reacting to everybody. You don't want to be there either. It's a terrible place to be. So point of it was, I started off talking about how not to be awkward, but it's really changing that will change everything because it's you'll open up, you'll just be a better version of you. And if you happen to have a bigger personality, that's even better because the louder you are, the more attention you're going to get and the more opportunities you're going to get and the more, all these types of things. You're going to get more hate with it too, though. Right? So there's a difference. There's being yourself and then there's being yourself loudly. And being yourself loudly is going to come with haters, more haters. They're going to be louder. The haters are going to be louder. The louder you are. But that's the trade-off in life. There's no reward without no risk. The bigger the reward, the bigger the risk. So be brave and be you loudly if you can. Alright, that's the video for today. Like, comment, subscribe, let me know what y'all think. I switched it up a little bit. This isn't about dating. I want to expand my page. I've talked about dating a lot. I talked about it for 180 videos. I'm ready to talk about more in life. Of course, I will still talk about dating, but I'm in a little transition period in my life personally. So I think I'm also going to expand the page as far as instead of me just talking all the time, I want to do podcasts. So maybe it's on a video chat, or maybe the person will be right with me once I settle in. I'm in the process of moving, so once I get settled in to my new spot, I'll get a little podcast set up, have some people come over, or like I said, do a video call, and we'll have some conversations, because I think that can provide a lot more value, getting other people's perspectives as well, and just talking it out, thinking it through, you know what I mean? I think it'd be helpful. So yeah, man, y'all know what it is. It's mind over matter, Marvel over matter. Let's get it.